Hello everyone and welcome back guys to AOR Season 14 Round 16 I think for the Japanese Grand Prix, and obviously as I do every week I'm going to leave you on board with my fastest qualifying lap. Coming into this race I hadn't really done any sort of time trial practice. I obviously done the AOR F2 races. They will be coming out probably over the space of this next week, probably sort of Monday, Tuesday. I'll wait and see about that. Obviously I'll try and time it around the car reveal so it's not on the car reveal day, because obviously I still want to focus on those, but hopefully you enjoy the rest of this qualifying lap. Overall though then, as you can see, not too bad a lap at the end of the session. I did go for another one. There were a few more tenths to find certainly, and I did improve, but I decided I'd try and hold back start for P11 in the Grand Prix there. 1.4 seconds off pole though. There was certainly, as I said, you know, that I could easily found another 6-7 tenths, which would have really only upped me a couple of places there. And to be honest, obviously it's not really too useful, but unfortunately for me it was raining for the start of this Grand Prix. Really not ideal there. I was sort of hoping it would be one of those wet but dry races like we saw at Malaysia just a couple of weeks back. But here we are then, 5 lights for the Japanese Grand Prix, and it is lights out and away we go. And for the first time, I think probably on this entirety of this F1 game, we have actually got off to a decent start there. Tried to have a look to the outside of Extra Bobbits there, but he gives me no room down towards turn 1 though. Still 0 room there. I don't know if he thought I was behind him there, but I've decided I'm going to add that to the Bobbits wipeout count, even though it's not really a proper whiteout, but still, you know. But out of that, we do come out in P12, unfortunately, there. Even more carnage. Sam F1 LFC gets spanned. CJ, unfortunately, has to brake there. I didn't think he would, and, well, that's front wing damage for me right at the very start of this Grand Prix. And that was really frustrating to see as we come through this first sector, though. Still, you know, potential. LGS tries to have a look up my inside there, but we get much better drive on the exit of Dunlop there. But unfortunately, although it doesn't look like much, the front wing damage on this game is really frustrating. And to be honest with you, obviously you'll get to see what else happens in this race in just a moment, but I'll sort of spoil it now because it's sort of a different point I want to talk for throughout this race. It's with AOR, but it's sort of just a bit frustrating at the moment. Unfortunately, as you'll see on lap 2, I do get taken out again, and then I'm basically just by myself for the rest of the race there. And that sort of leads me on to my, you know, sort of the main point that I want to talk about in this race overall. Unfortunately, for those of you who are expecting commentary over this race, as you'll see in just a moment, there is very little point in doing so. Unfortunately, there's not really much to say overall from this Grand Prix, but I felt, you know, therefore it'd be a good reason to sort of talk about AOR and Season 15. And honestly, for those of you that saw Singapore last week, Malaysia the week before, Italy before that, even to a degree, Spa as well, actually, it goes back a lot further than I realised. It's just becoming very frustrating, unfortunately, because excluding Singapore, where it was my error, it's just becoming very frustrating that more often than not I end up being in the back end of incidents. You know, other people make mistakes or whatnot, and it's just becoming further and further more frustrating, especially this game as well, and I sort of want to talk about that as well throughout the rest of this week. See, coming through turn 2 on the start of lap 2, just up in front of me, I don't know what happened. I think Gorsh supposedly got a screen freeze or something. Runs out of the circuit there and just never really sort of hits the brakes. And, well, as you can see, there's nowhere for me to go. Nothing I can do about that. Rather frustratingly as well, Gorsh just quit straight after that, which means that I'm left by myself for the rest of the Grand Prix, miles behind everyone else there. I was able to get 1 point in this Grand Prix right by the very end due to other retirements there, but obviously it wasn't exactly something to commentate over. But yeah, as I was saying, AOR is just becoming increasingly frustrating at the moment, and obviously I've got 4 races left of the season. And honestly, I think if those ones, obviously it just depends on the circumstances, but it's becoming forever more difficult, shall we say, for me to commit myself to season 15. And obviously, as I've said, you know, sometimes you get hits of bad luck, and whether I'm just in a bad luck phase, it's just becoming so normal. When I look throughout this whole entire season, there's, well, let's run through from the start. Then Australia got taken out by some reversing through the circuit. China I got lagged into, which ruined me. Bahrain, I had a puncture on the second last lap. That was sort of my fault, but still very frustrating. Russia, disconnect. Spain, I won, which was a bit of a turnaround. Monaco, just Monaco. Canada, I did do well. Baku, I got taken out, but still nearly won until I bottled it on the final lap. Austria, made a mistake. Silverstone, I got taken out. Well, I didn't get taken out, I sort of got involved in an incident at the start of that race. Then you had Hungary, that one, I'm just terrible around Hungary. Spa, obviously going well, got taken out. Italy, it was sort of just one of those races where I sort of just lacked a little bit of the pace and confidence there. And then after that, it's just been, well, Singapore, obviously my fault. Malaysia got taken out by a desynced car. Japan, obviously, been taken out by a desynced car. And it's just becoming increasingly frustrating, you know, to try and find motivation on this game. You'll see in the background now, this is actually the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, but it's just beginning difficult, you know, to practice every Sunday. And, well, I say practice every Sunday, I didn't really do anything this week. But just to come into these races and just cope, to be honest. I won't lie, it's becoming increasingly frustrating. Now, obviously, I'll look at the end of the season, you know, we might try change something up in AOR, I don't know yet. I'll have to wait and see about that, but season 15 is becoming a little bit harder to try and persuade myself into, and obviously I want to try and do, you know, I like to try and sort of keep it the consistency with AOR. I've done the last 3 seasons. Every season I've done, the Flying Finn has actually won rather coincidentally there, so maybe if I quit, then perhaps we won't see any more of his domination there, but I highly, highly doubt that nonetheless. But yeah, it's just one of those things where the motivation is becoming harder and harder to find, and obviously I try to bring out the highlights as soon as I possibly can as well. When you get races like this where it is just 26 laps of absolutely nothing, it becomes very, very frustrating to obviously, because I do literally finish the race, come off, edit it almost instantly, and then continue on and, you know, render it, upload it and all that, make the thumbnail and everything like that. And obviously sometimes on a Sunday night, you know, I've got college on the Monday morning, it just becomes a bit frustrating to continue on. Obviously I will finish this season, there is no chance I'm going to quit. That's just something I don't do generally with leagues. You know, if I sign up to the start of the league, I will try and go all the way through, but whether I'll sign up to season 15, I feel is a very, very different topic altogether there. But final lap of the Grand Prix, 1 minute 30.1, obviously a little bit, you know, not rigged as such, but obviously pit with 2 laps to go just to try and get the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Walk out of this race with absolutely something as well, you know, to stop XRL Bobbits from getting it, because, well, Bobbits and I, we're best friends really, but we like to try and take fastest lap from each other as often as we possibly can there. But unfortunately, well, I think the right way to describe it is disappointed but not surprised at the end of the day there, because it's just becoming a common occurrence, frustratingly. But yeah, there we are though. That was the Japanese Grand Prix on the whole. We've actually got actually 2 new drivers in for now, and they actually came 1-2 tonight, so I don't know if they're watching, but congrats to those 2 as well for a very, very good race by the pair of them there. But yeah, as I said, overall, Japan, it was sort of seemed a good time. You know, it was a boring race, so I felt if I sort of spent this video sort of talking about it, talking about AOR at the moment and just where it's going, it's, yeah, as I said, becoming increasingly frustrating. To be honest, the real aim between now and the end of the season is actually to win the Constructors. Coldhead and I have actually got like a 10-point lead now, I think, overall on the Constructors with just a couple of rounds to go, so obviously we might want to try and take home that by the end of the season there. But Drawmaster, otherwise known as Kimi Larson, I think he's actually a real-life racing driver as well, did win the Grand Prix there. WR Moroso came P2. Coldhead, my teammate, P3. Midget doing very, very well. His 2nd P4 in a row. Ellis 5th, Herschel 6th, Sam 7th, LGS 8th, Bobbits 9th, myself in 10th. Franglish, unfortunately, retiring in that Grand Prix. Then you've got Icebergs, P1R Brown, actually, surprisingly, retiring from the race as well as CJ and Gorsh right at the very bottom of the order there, both retiring from that Grand Prix. But yeah, as I said, though, I sort of only apologised this race. Obviously, not really talking much about the race, but as I said, nothing really to talk about there. But hopefully, it's a bit odd, but hopefully you've sort of enjoyed. Obviously, just watching the highlights in the background there. Do not forget to like, subscribe if you're new around here as well. and you want to see more from myself. I will see you hopefully guys next time for the US Grand Prix.